Hello everybody, my name is Luke Mar and this is Hot Mode, and today on Hot Mode we are going to be recapping the entirety of Fashion Month. Now, there are a lot of things that go on during Fashion Month. I mean, there's New York, there's Paris, there's Milan, there's London, and so I am giving you all of the shit that you need to know about what went on during the entirety of Fashion Month. So, sit down, prepare, it's gonna be a long one, enjoy. Before we get any further into the video though, if you guys are looking for a channel that talks about fashion in the most fun, sassy, bitchy, analytical way this is, you can go down below, hit the subscribe button, and turn on my post notifications. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? You're already here. And if you guys wanna see more from me, you can follow me on Instagram at Hot Mode. I post some pretty poppin' fashion memes, and my Instagram stories always have the best fashion news and gossip. And if you want to see even more from me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at HotLemess. I post more of my opinions and outfits, so enjoy. And if you guys are looking to shop any of the looks that I'm wearing in any of my videos, you can find me on Depop at Hot Mode as well. So let's get into everything you need to know about Fashion Month. New York Fashion Week has been a mess for a long time. But this year's newly appointed president of the Council of Fashion Designers of America, Tom Ford, actually shortened the week from a big 8 to 9 average to a subtle but small 5-day-long experience. This did force a more jam-packed week, but made it easier for actual designers to show. Zac Posen started off the week with a 360 degrees lookbook featuring Winnie Harlow. It's a style of photography and videography never really explored much in fashion, and while the idea was great, the clothing didn't complement it well. While I admire his use of tulle, it looked no different than the sea of tulle gowns we see all the time now. It felt like it was all a little bit much. I won't speak much on the hot mess that was Jeremy Scott, except if his theme was neon rock opera, it sank like a big heavy neon fucking rock. Christopher John Rogers, who's been worn by the likes of Rihanna, Tracee Ellis Ross, and the former First Lady Michelle Obama, debuted his first fashion show this season. The show had all the elements of CJR that we know and love: acetate taffeta in poppy jewel tones, oversized silhouettes with gridded Swarovski crystals, and the sexiest ruching this side of the country. Welcome to the coastal elite, girls. Overall, it was a really good debut for someone who doesn't actually have any retailers or stockists selling his collection yet. And also, like, his mom cried throughout like the entirety of the show, and honestly, like, it was like so sad yet so cute, and like it made me so happy. Next, let's talk about the terrible twins of Project Runway, both who had runway shows, unfortunately. First up was Christian Siriano, who, while I haven't always will applaud his dressing of plus-size women on the red carpet, it doesn't mean that I have ever thought that he was a talented designer when it comes to a conceptual collection. I'd like to see more of a storyline from the collections and less cheap and chintzy fabrics. As for Brandon Maxwell, I'll be honest, did it look like a Sears catalog from the mid-90s? Absolutely. But did it look like a high-quality Sears catalog from the mid-90s? Absolutely. The denim looks were good, I guess, but it's like hard to fuck up denim, no. And I guess some of the camisole tops with trains and satin were great for the basic customers. But nowhere else in that collection was anything noteworthy or deserving of a runway show. I saw this amazing tweet by Riak Osif that said, "I'm gonna start calling any collection that isn't presenting anything new to the world textile waste." And while Brandon Maxwell and Christian Siriano make great textile waste, the sheer PVC bodycon dresses in leopard prints at LaQuan Smith were stellar. LaQuan really is somebody to watch out for, and notice that Barbie Ferreira and Alexa Demi from Euphoria wore matching looks from the collection. Taste buds! Besides from the cow fur skirts, the collection wasn't exceptional by any means, but I'm hoping that LaQuan and his team get an influx of cash sometime soon, so we get to see some magic from him. Sies Marjan by Sandra Lack was a nice moment this season. Last season was a hot fucking mess, except for the beautiful leather tailored looks. So to see Sandra leaving that shit draping at home was nice. He went for more of a monochromatic experience, which showed off beautiful reds, blues, maroons, and burgundies, and the leather looks embossed to look like crocodile skins was a really, really nice touch. If you're not going to give me crazy, amazing storyline, just make nice clothes that have the brand's tropes on display. If you're looking for my Pyer Moss review, you can find a whole video dedicated to it. Click up here somewhere. Again, I just want to say, if you weren't there, I am so sorry for you. The Row by Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen wasn't magical for me. me. It was very commercial, but also seems to be the only true successor to Phoebe Philo's Celine. And the best part is they never even worked for her because everybody else is like, oh my god, Phoebe Philo, Celine, the alum! It's very annoying, I hate it. Overall, the row makes nice clothes, very, very nice clothes, and is becoming a financial juggernaut in American fashion. The collection this season was mostly black, with a lot of layering and mostly banal pieces from a storyline point of view. Hoping for something a bit better for autumn-winter, as I do love their slouchy sweaters though. I wish we could all stop talking about Tom Ford though. While he is now the president of the CFDA, his collections honestly are now just textile waste at this point. He doesn't want to do his like raunchy Gucci anymore, and we're not getting some salacious YSL throwbacks either. Let's be real, Tom can say he has clients, but I believe his biggest clients are the girls at Sephora. That's it. He couldn't even really do the plastic breastplates well, and poor Gigi, she looked like my inner demons all rolled into one. Coach was highly depressing. We asked Stuart Vevers to stop reading Little House on the Prairie fanfics, but honestly, give that bitch back his Wattpad account because whatever he's trying to do now is a fucking disaster. And from what I'm reading, Coach's parent company TPR is going through a low-key crisis, so the Coach 1941 collections going on sale season after season is not exactly a great look. Oscar de la Renta was fine. The collection was a callback to Mr. de la Renta's birthplace, the Dominican Republic. The raffia section was nice, and the cutouts are always a really strong point for Fernando Garcia and Laura Kim. They always do have a diverse range of styles for customers young and old, but I'd ask them to give me a collection with a bit of fantasy and dimension soon. Proenza Schouler was okay, I guess. They mixed their sportswear fabrics with couture sensibilities. Well, the suiting was nice and the exaggerated skirts were fucking sexy. But there were some real fucking duds in there. They still need to work on editing. Emphasis on editing. If you ever find out what's happening over at Michael Kors, be sure to let me know, because honestly at this point, a good Michael Kors collection really depends on whether or not Michael Kors' design team is copying good designers. And Marc Jacobs was quite controversial this season, as I didn't think it was that great. The whole 60s and 70s flower child thing was definitely inspired by Gucci, although many will deeply deny it. To me, that's not exactly a bad thing per se, especially when Marc is running around in full Gucci looks. It makes deniers of those claims look sort of dumb, but as Pemboy said, Marc has never been afraid to be referential. I just wish he would have taken Alessandro Michele's Gucci to an exaggerated place only Marc could go. But I will say the baby doll dresses were nice and that first look was stunning. As for London, things got a little bit hazy like the weather. Kiko Kostadinov's women's wear line, which is designed by twin sisters Laura and Deanna Fanning, was strong this season. It definitely felt like it was more related to the menswear collection shown in June. The crazy prints were offset well by nice tailoring in coats and suits and some asymmetrical dresses. Honestly, keep it up, ladies. Because if we go back to whatever you were doing before, I'm gonna genuinely die. Matty Bovan has always been a designer who can turn junky fabrics into juxtapositioning masterpieces, but this season the sportswear direction the collection took was a bit lost on me. And the art pieces felt too art school project rejecty, which I don't love, but the sporty jackets with pannier skirts did make me feel like there was a little bit of hope. Molly Goddard was a nice commercial show this season, which when you show over-the-top tulle gowns, that can be really helpful for retailers. There was a lot of frills and ruching as well as sweeping coats that covered the tulle monstrosities, which is a feat considering how big they are. Although it is hard to be obsessed with the denim and floral looks. Victoria Beckham has become a YouTube star, JK LOL, she's a hot mess. But in reality, she really did put out a dumbed down version of Alessandro Michele's Gucci on the runway and called it a collection. I just couldn't imagine showing a collection this blah, especially when you're like copying Gucci and then sending it down the runway, like mess. I guess that's why her company's losses enter the tens of millions this year, but you know what, that's not my job. Simone Rocha gave us everything we needed and expected. Full silhouettes, amazing sheer and embroidered overlays, and a dark romanticism. I was quite lost at the raffia and roped looks on the collection. It just felt like, ooh, let's hot glue things on a jacket. But overall, it was glorious and beautiful and simple and ethereal Simone Rocha at its finest. Erdem tried to be a bit different this season, Lots of clashing prints and crazy styling, and it unfortunately did not go over well whatsoever. To be honest, we go to Erdem to see beautiful, gorgeous floral dresses and gowns, not an experimental mishmash. Let's leave that to the student designers, Erdem, and get back to the elegance we expect, please. As for JW Anderson, it would be hard to explain a general idea for the collection, but in reality it really doesn't matter because we got beautiful handkerchief dresses in heavy knits that could probably take out a small child or elderly citizen with one hit. The suiting was exaggerated, but quite brilliant, and he even made me love metallics, which is a fucking feat. And the faux crystal bras were funny at the very least. Overall, it was an intelligent and artistic elegance that we got, which I loved. I will say, I feel like I want a game show or something because I finally get JW Anderson. I wasn't obsessed with Christopher Kane this season, except for the plastic dresses inserts that looked like plant emojis. Someone in my DM said that they looked like a vagina, but like TBH, I've never really seen a vagina close up, but I don't think that they come in like neon plastic blues and pinks. So, you know, that's just my opinion, but Lord knows I don't know anything about the female anatomy. Then there was Burberry. Riccardo Tisci is very, 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 very slowly getting better. This season was beige and boring, but at least he wasn't trying to talk to 17 different customers like previous seasons. Lots of gray jersey looks were actually really, really nice, and he's definitely starting to hit his stride, but overall it was a yawn fest, especially since it was 110 looks. Also, must he take the nice frilly looks and ruin them by trying to brand them with the words Burberry? And just as an FYI, Riccardo, you are not a unicorn and neither is your customer. So putting "I am a unicorn" on dresses makes me want to shove a unicorn horn up your asshole. Thank you. Richard Quinn closed out London Fashion Week, and he did so in a fun, frisky floral manner as per usual. There were lots of leg of mutton sleeves, big bows, and ridiculous pyramid silhouettes. I love the meeting of the tight black PVC bodysuits with the florals. It honestly felt like my British grandmother, who has bright pink floral wallpaper all over her house, had like recently become a BDSM dominatrix at the tender age of 82. And like, nanny, if you want to go for that, please let a girl know. I'm here for it. I mean, listen, we love a career change. I'll be honest, the cheap house pipe with crystals were sick as fuck, although like cultural appropriation, I'm not super sure. And the heavily stoned dresses felt like what bridal should be, especially the final look with the PVC. Moving to Milan, I didn't love all of Jil Sander, but it's actually growing on me. The nude body appliques, the gowns with the mermaid tails of plastic bag handles was gorgeous, and the 5-minute craft hot glue collars, accessories, they worked. In the same way that JW Anderson and Lil Wave are super smart and intelligent, Jil Sander is the same, and again, I'm starting to get it. I feel like I'm an intellectual now. This was Silvia Venturini Fendi's first solo women's ready-to-wear collection for Fendi by herself. And I wasn't obsessed, but her haute couture and menswear collections made me not as mad as I could have been because she's put out good collections so far. The quilted looks were nice, although a bit warm for spring, no? And I mean, it is a brand built on fur, so the gingham fur coats were actually kind of nice to see. And that one like gingham and fur coat that felt like a beautiful ice cream cone was chef's kiss. Overall, not a bad first women's collection. Prada was very commercial this season, and I've heard a lot of whispers that the apparent turnaround financially that was happening at Prada isn't going as well as it's been written. So a very laid back and simple collection from Miuccia makes a lot of sense. There were quite a bit of the see-through jersey pieces which were reminiscent of her early 90s collections that are still so beloved, and there was a lot of the 70s Prada prints as well, which are a brand staple. The skirt suits were nice, especially with those big white collars, and love the leather looks as well. I do think a lot of the fern motifs fell flat though, especially with their weird placements. I don't want like all these ferns all up in my mom's pubis, yo. Overall, I understand this season was about a woman's wardrobe, but I still expect somewhat of a storyline. Miuccia. Daniel Lee's Bottega Veneta is all about the accessories, at least that's what I assume, because the collection is a fucking mess. The honey baked ham and woven foreskin shoes are very, very chic, don't get me wrong, and I even would love to be gifted them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But the clothing is blah at best. Critics have always cited his time at Celine as something so great about him, but like he doesn't work there anymore, so maybe critique the shit sequin dresses and shite monkey bandana tops? I don't know. There is definitely some hope in those collections though. The rib sweater dresses and leather skirts were really, really nice, but he really needs a kick in the fucking ass in some direction. Otherwise, it will turn back into another boring Italian brand where I feel uncomfortable shopping in because there are these like husky Italian men buying loafers, and I just am like, I'm good, I don't want to shop here. Jeremy Scott took on Picasso this season for Moschino, and it was great. Interesting silhouettes, and probably one of the only times during Fashion Month everybody was in agreement that there was something interesting going on, which is like very difficult nowadays. Many of the looks took direct inspiration from some of Picasso's most famous paintings. Like Harlequin, it got a catsuit evolution, while other looks were just walking paintings and frames. If you were looking for a fashion show, look no further than Moschino, I implore you. Francesco Rizzo took on painted florals, jewel tones, and recycled fabrics for Marni. Francesco has been trying to get Marni's runway to be a bit more sustainable by utilizing textile waste for his show, and I don't mean textile waste, I mean textile waste. But it didn't take away from some of the great pieces. The crocheted gowns, floral painted cotton, although it wasn't all that chic, and recycled leathers and knits all descended upon the runway. Rizzo definitely has shown that he can build the brand's signatures, but also was careful to not let the collections ever look too similar. But sometimes the draping is a bit ugh. Yeah, that's a fucking word, put it in the vocabulary now. The only reason anyone said good things about Versace was that Jennifer Lopez closed the show in a take on her iconic 2000s Grammys gown, which has been credited with the reason Google Images was even created. Honestly, from what I understand, it was like a Google sponsorship, and I feel like it was just fucking fodder for her YouTube channel, which like a whole ass Versace collection literally was about J-Lo making a YouTube video. If you haven't realized that fashion is going down the fucking shitter, this is the time to understand it. The collection was nothing interesting, as have been Versace collections for years at this point. Ever since Donatella started doing Gianni Versace Part 2, the remix, we've lost any sense of interesting clothing. I mean, those breasts on those necklines. Not even J-Lo could save that train wreck. Honestly, I'm shocked that I'm even talking about West Gordon's Salvatore Ferragamo. Obviously, Bottega is battling out its boring competitor for press, because the Lord knows I have no idea what is going on at Ferragamo, or even what the shoes look like, which is bad considering that that is what West Gordon is best known for. The only dress I liked was a crochet dress with exaggerated pilling. If I like a dress with pilling in it, you know there's an issue. The rest of the clothes were textile waste, and if you can all find a shoe that's interesting and not an ugly ballet flat or strappy sandal, please let me know. Alessandro Michele brought Gucci back with a bit of controversy and a bit of sex. Thank God. The show started out with at least 30 looks in all white resembling straitjackets meant to resemble the strain the patriarchy puts on all of us. Like, I'm feeling it. I don't actually know that though because I had to Google like 16 words in the first paragraph of the show notes, so I did eventually give up. Though a model did protest by saying that mental health is not fashion, and while like, yes, it's a concept, okay? It's a concept. And I don't think they're gonna be selling any of those straitjacket looks anyway, so okay. Luckily, the clothing that wasn't being protested by models due to apparent ignorance revolving around the topic of mental health was actually really, really nice. Alessandro usually is quite androgynous with his Gucci, but this season really had flirtation and desire seeping into the seams. There were lots of high slits, sheer fabrics in blush colors, and a bit of under boob. And by a bit, I mean a lot, which I'm not mad about. We've all been asking Alessandro to take his Gucci and twist and turn it each season, which would allow it to keep its over-the-top style, but have a different context. Luckily, we got that. And a sexy-ass tracksuit I would die for? I'll take it. Also, I mean, I might wear like a Gucci print thong underneath, you know, don't worry. Moving on to Paris, Marine Serre is officially the queen of the city, and she also started to prove that forgetting about the conglomerate-owned brands is really, really good for your health, because they're not gonna fucking help you. Miss Serre took on climate change and waste quite brilliantly with her post-apocalyptic collection, which is a foreboding theme we've been seeing for a while from her. The first look was a hooded dress in moire silk, and if you couldn't see the resemblance between the waves in the silk and the shiny waves in an oil spill, get your eyes checked. It really was a brilliant way to start the collection. The signature Marine Serre crescent moon embossed in leather coats, pants, and boots was brilliant, and branding is on point. And she proves that she's working on branding in a way very few young brands have done before. Creating a heritage diamond print similar to the likes of Gucci was also very, very smart. The Guy Pure lace poncho was sweet, but we could also do without the camo prints. Overall, Marine Serre is proving that she's looking to make her brand stand the test of time, and either you're going to get on board or you can suck on her ball bag. Literally, suck on a ball bag. You already all know how I feel about Dior, and if you don't, well, watch the fucking video, it's up here somewhere. Saint Laurent is the definition of textile waste and resource waste as well. Anthony Vaccarello showed absolutely nothing new and used a light show and a view of the Eiffel Tower as a great excuse to look away from his collection. The embroidery was unsexy, the majority of the pieces looked like they were products at Zara, and God forbid he leaves a sequin out of a collection for even one season. Designers should be telling their customers what they should be looking forward to be wearing, not catering to a customer that has no idea what they want except for black skinny jeans and a logo. And to be honest, I love Naomi Campbell, you already fucking know that, but these brands have to stop using her for clicks and views, especially when you expect her to carry the whole show. She was great at Louis Vuitton men's, she was great at Valentino Haute Couture, but at YSL, it was meh, and it's not Naomi's fault, and it's bullshit that they even tried to use her for that. John Galliano's Margiela was brilliant this season. It continued to meld John's over-the-top referencing and Martin's deconstructed tropes. There were painted canvas coats, an ode to Margiela, quilted coats with striped lapels, and shiny glass organza jackets. And the model who closed out the show in a leather sailor suit with a walk that only a mother could love absolutely stole the show and made one of the most memorable moments of Fashion Week. Casey Cadwallader put out a brilliant show for Mugler. It mixed Mugler's exaggerated waists and boned bodices with sportswear fabrics that could reach an audience more gravitated to comfort than elegance. Bella Hadid opened the show in a black bolero with sharp shoulders and a bone bodysuit that lifted the booty as it walked. It was very specific, it lifted the booty. Watch Loic Prigent's video if you want more info. The embossed leather capris are superb, and jeans stitched together that sculpted the hips and thighs are succulent, like a chicken wing. Or chicken thigh, actually. And that blue ruched gown with detached skirt, I fucking live! If you're going to rehab a house known with exaggerated aesthetics, I think this is the perfect way to do it. And between the amazing ungendered gloves, heels, and suits, there is a little something for everyone. I often don't talk about Dries Van Noten because I don't understand it usually and prefer not to trash it. But this season, instead of referencing a designer he admired, he actually brought them on to collaborate on this season's collection, and it was none other than Christian Lacroix, sweetie. It was LaQuan. It's LaQuan. When people ask me who I'm wearing, they're going to say LaQuan. There were the Dries florals, but they were mixed with cheetah prints and zebra tops and violent pinks. It's really up to you to decide whether or not you like it, because honestly, I have no idea what's going on, and I'm not getting trashed for my opinions on it. Y Project by Glenn Martens was really great this season. Y Project is probably one of the only experimental brands in fashion right now. It's like Iris Van Herpen, except the brand looks at the way we wear clothing and tries to rework it in interesting, albeit crazy ways. So you do get shirts turned into crop tops, jeans with extra flaps, and strange shirt dresses. But in reality, it's changing our perception of how clothing should be made. The striped lace gowns were beautiful. The black velvet gown with a satin bib was interesting. And the fabric wrap cocktail dress was weird yet wearable. Obviously, not everything works, but I always love that Glenn Martens treats every look like a fashion hypothesis. And on the runway, we see whether or not the experiment worked. Rick Owens was sublime. Beautiful column dresses, crazy stripes, and architectural headpieces were easy standouts, and the pleated pannier gowns were the thing that cemented this beautiful collection. Rick was called out by the artist Salvia, though, who has since deleted the post calling out the designer, who they worked with in February for the Larry Legaspi-inspired collection. The extremely raised hairline, makeup, and nails have been said to have been stolen by Rick, who only paid for that work in February. It really was a blight on the otherwise perfect collection, though. Off-White was very blah, and considering Virgil is doing so much, it's very apparent he doesn't have the time to fully dedicate himself to the brand. Which is sad, because I will never stop bringing up that Princess Diana collection. When he starts to care about the brand again is when he should start showing collections for it. Otherwise, keep your snout out, babe. Loewe was beautiful. Panniers in yellow, black, and white, pleated suits and flare pants, and lace sleeves were all gorgeous. Again, it's intelligent design at its finest. And while the collection doesn't have a storyline, the clothing is so good and so beautiful that it doesn't really need one. Julien Dosena's Paco Rabanne took on the 60s and 70s, and weirdly enough, it did work. Listen, some of it was vile, especially that first look. So much of it really blew my socks off. Literally, my socks are gone. The denim was superb with little funky appliques, and the prints were quite modern with a vintage flair. I love the iconic Paco-linked dress with diamonds though, for those looking to get their nipples cut off by their own dress. If you are, let me know, I'd love to watch. The leather was to die for, especially with the motifs of rocket ships and outer space. And to bring it all together, a link dress with little daisies on it was so flower child, I don't think I could ask for more. Julien de Sena is that bitch, and Paco Rabanne has never looked better. Balmain was fucking awful. End of story. Where is the couture like ready to wear? Where is the embroidery and stoning? The stunning twists and turns of fabric? Pierre Balmain is rolling in his grave considering the Hamburglar is walking his runways. Issey Miyake was brilliant. Honestly, Issey makes beautiful pleated clothing. Does he have to have a fashion show? Absolutely fucking not. The product is great, but not only did he present a show that was nice and casual, although be it in 5 different parts, but not only did he present a show that was nice and casual, but then he had fucking drones come down and dress the models. How is it that the richest brands in the world can't think of something so simple yet innovative? I'm tired of Eddie Slimane at Celine. It's boring, and while many think he's going to change his ways and give us something amazing, I'm not holding my breath waiting. You all can. You can all die, and then I'll take your jobs. Honestly, just give Eddie his own brand if you want a slinky YSL competitor so bad, and let Peter do work his magic at Celine. That's all I have to say about it. Comme des Garçons gave us sculptural fashion realness with oversized sleeves, hoop skirts in a new format, and literal walking fabric sculptures. The show is part 2 to Rei Kawakubo's work for the Vienna Opera's costuming of the show Orlando, and no, I don't mean Orlando Bloom. The book is based on a man who transitions to a woman over 300 years magically, and it's not hard to see Rei's work showing that transition and different historical clothing styles. Overall, it's CDG, and I am happy. See that rhyme? Bam. Honestly, Balenciaga was a really strong collection this season. Dimna Vasalia should have left Vetements years ago, because the last time we got a collection this strong was spring 2017. Dimna's best collections are a mixture of his work taking this Georgian streetwear referencing and mixing them with the genius of Cristobal Balenciaga's experimental garment construction. There were lots of utilitarian looks in the beginning and some great 80s geometric dresses. And Dimna is not giving the ugly floral dress category to Richard Quinn quite so easily. He's still fighting with some of the most vile prints we've seen yet. The ridiculous puffer coats were wonderful and funny, and just what I expect from Dimna. And Bella Hadid got a crushed velvet cocktail dress that was skirt in the front and shorts in the back, and honestly, he must be watching a lot of those mullet videos on TikTok. The Hershey Kiss and Ferrero Rocher dresses were ridiculous, but so Balenciaga. And then there were 3 gigantic crinoline ball gowns with gigantic seams to create dramatic shapes that push their way down the runway. And if this is not a Balenciaga moment, I don't really know what is. It was a great collection, and I hope that we get Dimna to explore the Balenciaga archives even more next season. Thom Browne is a godsend. His 18th century take on corporate wear was a breath of fresh air. There were panniers galore, which is definitely going to be a trend for spring-summer 2020, just as an FYI. Seersucker slip-on heels Marie Antoinette would honestly like orgasm over, and amazing tweeds. Amazing tweets. There were gigantic sweater vests, trompe-l'oeil curtain prints, and deconstruction that was pretty, which isn't usually the case for deconstruction. And you can't forget the dolphin shoes. I mean, like, listen, Tom's mind, I fucking can't. Pier Paolo Piccioli's Valentino was fine this season. Listen, it's ready to wear. I usually wait till haute couture to be wowed. There were lots of white looks, a solid way to keep yourself cool in the summer. There was neon as well, but done in a nice conservative Valentino fashion, and we cannot forget about the prints, because it wouldn't be a Valentino show without prints. There were lots of tropical motifs and a monkey's arm that created a waist. It's really not that hard, Maria Grazia. TBH, I just wait for couture from Valentino. That's where Pier Paolo shines. Givenchy was a mess, and even the fashion critics on LVMH's payroll couldn't ignore the fact. That's how you know it was fucking bad. The show was the definition of pedestrian, with ripped jeans, boring khakis, and fast fashion plaids. Claire White Keller should stick to haute couture, because whatever this hot disaster is honestly indistinguishable. The show was meant to be based on Paris and New York in 1993, and honestly, like, if you're born in 1993, sue for defamation. It was meant to be a reflection of Keller's time working for Calvin Klein. Maybe that's where the denim came in. Who fucking knows? Also to note, hashtag Arrivederci was not in full effect as Miss Grande didn't even show up. Maybe she knew it was coming down the runway and she said, fuck you, bye. Alexander McQueen was comforting this season. Maybe Sarah Burton and her team have been watching my videos, who knows? But honestly, the collection was great. It utilized recycled fabric scraps from the past few McQueen collections. The linen was produced at an old factory in Ireland found by the design team, and there were tropes galore of iconic McQueen pieces. There was beautiful tailoring with sexy cutouts to cinch the waist without a belt, Maria, and Victorian vibes galore. One dress had long slits tied together crudely by strings. It smoothly missed the pubis area, something Lee would have loved. It wasn't all Lee though. There were some pretty yet haunting pieces Sarah is known for. Two gorgeous cocktail dresses in pink and blue emerged, made to look like a dahlia flower opening. They were pretty and could easily be loved by any woman, and they were commercial, which is what Sarah is very good at. To me, this was the perfect meeting of the McQueen minds, and that's what we need every season from Sarah and her team. As for Chanel, I'm tired of giving Virginie Viard chances. I know I've seemed to come down hard on her, but the catwalk crasher was the most interesting part of the show, and that's really not a good thing. It should only be like a subtle compliment to the clothes. Uninteresting plaids, shorts with tights, and unflattering short jumpsuits is not what the Chanel woman deserves. Maybe it's more wearable than what Karl Lagerfeld created during his tenure, but you might have to redefine what the term wearable means. Let's quickly talk about Chanel's runway crasher, Marine Simfiltre. She is a famous French YouTuber who pretty much crashes events for a living. I mean, listen, get that AdSense. She essentially ran on stage and cut in during the middle of the finale walk and was confronted by Gigi Hadid and a gaggle of Chanel-clad models who pretty much bullied her off stage. Honestly, good for the ladies on both sides, and her impression of Gigi Hadid's "oh my god" is my favorite thing ever.
Avec un petit oh my god, you know.
But in reality, if the only interesting thing about a Chanel fashion show is a girl who ran on stage and gave a not so terrible walk, we really should all feel a bit sorry for ourselves. To round out the season, we must speak about Louis Vuitton. Not the worst Nicolas Ghesquier LV collection I've seen, but far from the best. He took the collection in a 70s style, and luckily it wasn't a glorified Gucci mess like some others this season. I mean, there were sequin sweater vests, flare pants, and tiered ruffle skirts galore if you're into that sort of thing. He was channeling the Belle Epoque, but the prints were just ugly. No offense, but it's the Belle Epoque. There should be amazing prints everywhere. This one purple coat was divine, and a black jacket and flare pant was nice as well, but since my Instagram review, I've kind of changed my tune on the collection. Nicola made some nice bags, and I guess the shoes were sellable, but the more and more each season, it just looks like an unwearable mess. The important part of LV is, you know, the accessories. So we got some great egg-shaped bags and a really good Belle Epoque inspired bag as well. But honestly, like the shoes, oh, an LV loafer? Wow, so interesting, I could just die. Honestly, more and more each season, it just looks like an unwearable mess. Maybe we can pick and choose a few pieces that are likable, but the fact that the blown around room is creating outfits is kind of getting boring. That is the end of my Fashion Month review. I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. I know it's kind of a long one, but I tried to get through everything as efficiently as possible. So let me know in the comments what you thought about, you know, everything, and if I missed anyone. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and TTYL.